Again, we are thankful for all of our guests being with us today. We certainly thank our friend from California for being here. We certainly pray that you will enjoy your stay in South Bend. I'm sure Sister Harvell is treating you well. And we thank God for you, and certainly we thank God for all of our guests. Chief Teachman, good to have you with us today. Amen. Good to have you and your family. I want to give you a couple of minutes to greet us, if you don't mind. Just a couple of minutes to greet us. He's not from South Bend, and we want to be kind to him. We're through worshiping, so take that microphone right there, sir, and say hello to us, a couple of words to us.
May I have, if you forgive me, may I have more than a couple?
Just a couple for now.
You said when the Spirit moves, you got to do what you got to do.
I know. You finna preach?
First Amendment to the Constitution says the separation of church and state, so I'm not going to step on your toes.
Okay, all right.
But if I were a preacher, there might be a few things I would say today. Hello, everyone. My name is Ron Teachman, and I am your new police chief here in South Bend. I'm the new guy. I am so new that I've just about found my way from my apartment to my office and back. And as soon as I stray, I need GPS. But thankfully I have it, and I found my way here today to the house of the Lord. I don't want to take time to speak at you, but I do want to have a conversation with you going forward, a dialogue about how the South Bend Police Department can better serve you. So I hope that we begin that conversation here today, Pastor and I and all of you. I come from the city of New Bedford, Massachusetts. And the reason why I say that is, back in New Bedford, and that explains the accent, we have someone who lived among us during his formative years, who we're very proud to have had as a resident in New Bedford, though he was not born there. His name is Frederick Douglass. And I hope last month that all of you, in observance of Black History Month, took a moment to understand his story, his struggle from slavery to freedom, the path he took from a slave in Maryland, being taught to read by the generous slave owners' wives. They gave him the knowledge, and he said, knowledge is the pathway. Not the railroad he took from Maryland to New York, and the Underground Railroad to New Bedford, but knowledge is the pathway from slavery to freedom. And I know that's why all of you are here today, to hear the word from the teacher and gain that knowledge. But I must pause and ask, what would Frederick Douglass say if he were among us here today? And what have we accomplished of his life's work? First, to free all men and women, and then to give us the right to vote. Because you know he worked so hard with President Lincoln on the Emancipation Proclamation of the 13th Amendment back in 1865 and getting at least men to vote by 1870. And it struck me, as Mother stood up today, said she was born in 1917, that when she was born, women still didn't have that right. It was 50 years later. I wonder what he would say if he were here today. The preacher will speak about, are you enslaved in your soul? Is your spirit free? But as your chief of police, I'm looking at the physical. Now, please forgive me if I just take a moment and share with you my journey here was not from New Bedford directly to South Bend, but I spent a year and a half in a country of Tajikistan in Central Asia. And the reason why I tell you that is Tajikistan is one of the 15 Soviet Union republics, the poorest and least developed. The average monthly salary is $70 US, and 50% of the population lives in less than $2 a day. And what struck me in my first of 18 months when I got there was something that tore my heart apart. I saw young children, young people, in leg braces and crutches and wheelchairs, because in 2010, before I arrived in April 2011, they had the worst outbreak in the world of polio. Polio. I thought we had eradicated polio in our lifetime. But there it was in Tajikistan. 30 people died, 900 people paralyzed from polio, and just in 2010. And bear with me, but in the spirit moves, you gotta go with it. I thought then, and I'm thinking now, and I'm thinking now, why is this guy talking about polio? I think some of you already see where I'm going with this. What kind of doctor, and I met many who were trying to vaccinate all these people, particularly the poorest, particularly those in the remote villages who could not make their way to the places where the vaccination was being distributed, could not make their way to the place where people come to get healthy. What kind of doctor would I be if I measured my success in how many leg braces and crutches and wheelchairs I distributed instead of spreading the vaccination? You'd say, "Doctor, those are foolish thoughts. What are you doing?" I said, "Well, did I show you the latest I have in leg crutches? They're made of titanium and aluminum. And how about the crutches? Well, they're leg braces, and the crutches they're made of carbon fiber, and the latest and most scientific. And the wheelchairs with these aerodynamic wheels and ergonomics." You say, "That's fool talk. You should be talking about prevention." So as your new police chief in South Bend, do I measure my success in the leg braces that I distribute to the young people? I hope not. I hope we measure our success in the spreading of the vaccination. But I cannot do that alone, nor could the doctors in Tajikistan. They needed assistance. So I come here today with assistance to avoid putting on the braces. And you may say, but Dr. Jonas Salk, back in 1955, developed the vaccination for polio. What is the vaccination to avoid the new epidemic in America? The epidemic of incarceration. In my 36 years in police work, I've seen our population of incarcerated prisoners go from about 300,000 to over 2 million. And I've seen the United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world. You know, we look at Germany after World War II as a country of persecution. There are 93 prisoners for every 100,000 people in Germany. In the United States, there are 750, 9 times more than Germany. We incarcerate more people than China, Russia, and Iran. And we look at them as persecuting countries. If you're a young man age over 18 in the United States, you have a 1 in 100,006 chance of being incarcerated if you are white. But if you are black, it's 1 in 15. 1 in 15. If you're over 20 years old to 34 years old, it is 1 in 9 people. There is an epidemic in this country. We are incarcerating more black people in this country than South Africa did during the peak of apartheid. There's an epidemic of incarceration. And we know that the residue that it leaves, the damage it does, the collateral damage, the vicarious trauma to our families, leaving over 3 million children behind without fathers in their homes. And when they come out of prison, we know that our men are unemployed and underemployed and less likely to marry the mothers of their babies. There's an epidemic of incarceration. What kind of doctor would I be if I were satisfied only to put on leg braces and crutches and wheelchairs? So I need help distributing that vaccination. But you may say, what vaccination is there for this epidemic? The doctors in Tajikistan said polio is not eradicated because we need a 90 to 95% inoculation rate to suffocate the disease in the country. And Tajikistan wasn't distributing. Corrupt government, ineffective medical practices, and lack of community participation. We need to increase the distribution of this vaccination. So I'm asking for some assistance in the distribution. You know, too often police officers and police chiefs say, we can't do our work, we can't solve crime because we can't get a witness when something bad happens. I'm here today looking for a different kind of witness. The kind of Pastor talked about. The kind that, when Jesus talked to Pontius Pilate, I believe that's what, John 18:36, when he said, what kind of... Are you our king? And he said, I come from another kingdom, but I was born and I came into this world to bear witness, to testify to the truth. Those are the kind of witnesses I'm asking for here today. And I heard when he called, you responded, you'd be the witness. We need to spread that vaccination. Frederick Douglass also said, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. I'm almost done. I know many of you.
I hope so.
I know many of you, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. I know many of you want to know, with the new chief, what are you going to do? What are your marching orders? Well, I came here with some marching orders, and not the conversation I had with Mayor Pete Buttigieg, although that was part of the conversation. Now, I came with marching orders that go back to February 4th, 1968, when the Reverend Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in his last sermon, which he prophetically knew, as he spoke about his own demise soon thereafter.
That's right.
He said, whosoever among you shall be the chiefest, shall be the servant of all.
He did say that.
Those are my marching orders. He also said, and he cautioned us about being drum majors, to be pursuant of the truth and justice, but not to stand out, not to strut. I didn't come here to strut. And as I go into your neighborhoods with our officers, we will not march like an occupying army. We'll not strut like a drum major. But I do want to walk your streets. And I do want to walk in your neighborhoods. And I pray that you walk by my side. Two other comments very quickly and I'll close. I look along these beautiful young children and I think about their children and their children's children. How in some February, many years from now, they'll look back as they celebrate Black History Month and think, in 2008, 232 years after this country was born, we finally did something remarkable. For once, we did not elect a white man to the White House. Well, 2 years before that happened, in Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where I'm born and raised, we did something equally remarkable. We elected our first African-American governor, Deval Patrick, the second in the country. Yep. And he ran the campaign motto, "Together we can." My message to you today from that same Commonwealth is similar. Only together can we. Finally, my parting words. To quote St. Ignatius, as we think about the crime problem in the city, the quality of life and moving it forward and working together, right. St. Ignatius said, we should pray as if everything depended on God and act as if everything depended on us. Thank you and God bless. All right.